This lesson will be on consonant assimilation, specifically nasal assimilation, RL assimilation, and liquidation. Consonant assimilation is when one consonant at the end of a syllable is followed by another consonant at the beginning of a syllable, which causes one or both of them to be pronounced differently. This only occurs in specific circumstances involving only some combinations of letters. I will show you which ones you need to learn, but first I think it's best to start out with an example. This one. This is a very commonly used Korean word. It basically means do, and Koreans use it often as an ending for verbs. You will see this as you continue studying Korean. But let's figure out how to pronounce it. The first syllable seems to be hab, but the B in the bachem is actually a P, so it's hap. The second syllable is ni. The third syllable is da. So you might think this word is pronounced HAPNIDA, but you'd be wrong, because this combination of letters is subject to consonant assimilation, which means that one or both of them get a different pronunciation. Now let's learn which combinations of letters get their pronunciations changed because of consonant assimilation. In the initial position of a following syllable, you need to watch out for these letters: M, N, and RL. These letters will cause the pronunciation of a consonant in the final position of the previous syllable to change, but only sometimes. It depends on what that final consonant is. In the final position of a leading syllable, there are many letters you need to watch for. Let me simplify it as best as I can by describing them as sounds rather than letters. The sounds you need to watch for are the P, T, and K sounds on the bottom. Now remember your bachem pronunciation rules. There are more than just 3 letters that can make these sounds. A P sound can come from P, B, the combination BS, or the combination RLP. The T sound comes from T, D, CH, J, S, or double S. The K sound can come from K, G, double G, or the combination RLG. Let's start learning how to pronounce these 3 sounds when they precede M, N, or RL. First, the P sound. When the P sound is followed by an M, the P sound is pronounced as an M as well. When the P sound is followed by an N, the P sound, again, is pronounced as an M, and the N stays as an N. When the P sound is followed by an RL, once again the P sound becomes an M sound, and the RL, that becomes an N sound. Now let's learn what happens to the T sound. When it precedes an M, the T sound is pronounced as an N, and the M remains as an M. When the T sound is followed by an N, the T sound again turns into an N, and the N just remains pronounced as an N. Now, when the T sound precedes an RL, the T sound turns into an N sound once again, and the RL is pronounced as an N, just like what happened when it followed the P sound. Finally, the K sound. When a K sound precedes an M, it is pronounced as an NG, and the M remains as an M. When a K sound precedes N, it is pronounced as NG, and the N remains as N. And lastly, when K precedes an RL, the K sound once again gets pronounced as an NG, and the RL is pronounced as N. Let's look at a chart of all of these cases. Do you notice a pattern? When followed by the N, M, or RL, the P sound turns into an M sound. The T turns into an N. The K turns into NG. When preceded by K, T, or P sounds, the M and N stay the same, and the RL turns into an N sound. Hopefully this pattern makes it easier for you to remember, but we're not done yet. RL goes on turning into N in the following situations: when it is preceded by M, and when it is preceded by NG. But then things take a little twist when RL meets a real N. When an RL either follows or precedes N, it stays as RL, and it is the N which turns into RL. Now let's go back to our example. We thought this word might be pronounced HAPNIDA, but since we have a P sound at the end of one syllable and an N sound at the beginning of the next syllable, that means consonant assimilation. Let's go back and look at the chart we made and see what it says. According to our chart, a P sound at the end of one syllable plus an N sound at the beginning of the next syllable is pronounced as MN. So these two syllables are pronounced ham, ni. The third syllable is still da. This word is pronounced HAMNIDA. So one more time, let's sum up the rules for consonant assimilation. When followed by an MN or RL, a P sound turns into M, a T sound turns into N, a K sound turns into NG, and an RL, when preceded by a P sound, T sound, K sound, M, or NG, turns into an N. But when RL either precedes or follows a real N, it turns the N into an RL. You might find it a little tricky to remember when you need to use consonant assimilation because you are looking across two different syllables and there are 13 different sound combinations you need to watch for. But as always, I promise to do my best in pointing out and reminding you of these pronunciation rules in future lessons. I also created a chart for you to reference or memorize. It's linked below. Remember, it gets easier the more you practice, so I made you a list of words that you can try to pronounce with your newfound skill of consonant assimilation. As always, I transcribed this lesson and it is also linked below. Thanks for studying with me.